Tourism Minister Patricia de Lille's first 100 days in office have been busy, to say the least. She's had to deal with issues including that controversial Tottenham Hotspur deal and the subsequent dissolution of the SA Tourism Board as a result of the failed proposal, as it was called. De Lille is with us tonight to talk more about her first 100 days. A very good evening to you, Minister. Grateful for your time. So, from what I was just outlining there, much has been gained in your penned reflections, but it's been far from rosy.
I can't agree more with you. I think that we still have to work hard a lot more, and that is for us to get back to the pre-2019 COVID arrivals in South Africa. We are still 21% behind that, and I'm working hard so that we can exceed those targets. Of course, we can't do it alone as government, and in partnership with the private sector, we will certainly make sure that we get those targets by March 2024 next year. The tourism sector is growing steadily, and we're very pleased with the first quarter figures where we, between January and March this year, where we received just over 2.1 million visitors, with 1.6 of that coming from the continent. And so we are focusing a lot on the continent to even increase those numbers.
Mm-hmm. And would I be right to say that perhaps sort of the biggest obstacles, if not the biggest, would be the issue of crime? I mean, just last year we had those tourists who came under fire, some killed, while on holiday in South Africa. And when those sort of stories make headlines, others may look upon them and go, well, South Africa is simply not safe to visit.
We're certainly acutely aware about that, and that's why, in partnership with the private sector, we got together the end of last month in May, and we developed an action plan. Part of the action plan is the Department of Tourism will invest 174 million to train just under 2,000 tourism safety monitors. The private sector has got an app that tourists can download when they arrive in South Africa for both local and international. So we now have a plan. We have identified 59 hotspots, some of our heritage sites included, and the tourism monitors will be deployed in those areas first. And then, of course, we have also signed a memorandum of agreement with the South African Police Services that are helping us to train the tourism safety monitors. There are many people around the world that do know about our country, but who are concerned about their safety, and therefore they are not booking that long-haul flight to come. So we're doing everything in our power, learning from other countries around the world. I will be briefing the ambassadors and high commissioners of all the countries based in South Africa to tell them about our safety plan. But the great partnership with the private sector is going to pay off a lot for us.
And 59 crime hotspots in a country of just 9 provinces is a frightening number, right? But the overall response from your department as tourism and your partners is great as far as ensuring the safety of tourists in the designated areas. But what ultimately needs to happen is that the country overall needs to become safer, is it not? Because it's one thing to be safe on Table Mountain, but if you're not safe on Long Street, there is still a problem.
I definitely agree with you, Tembekile, that the mandate, the constitutional mandate of the South African Police Services is to provide security for all of us in South Africa first, including our visitors. And that is how we are working together with the South African Police Services. But you're right, you know, the crime situation, it doesn't ask you whether you're a tourist or a local. It is at crisis levels. And therefore, we all have to work together as government and all departments to address the crime situation in our country. And therefore, together with the provincial government, the provincial MECs, all the provincial tourism entities and the national department, we have now developed this action plan, and we will be meeting on a quarterly basis. We are meeting again in August to make an assessment of how far we have come. We are going to launch this app that tourists can download, local tourists, whenever they travel anywhere. So hopefully we can give confidence to our visitors that they will be safe in South Africa.
And one of the first issues, your first order of business, in fact, when you became tourism minister around March this year, had to do with stopping that Tottenham Hotspur sponsorship proposal. It would have come at great cost to the country. Subsequent to that, the board at SA Tourism then left. There was an interim structure appointed. Now the nomination process for a new board is due to close around the 6th of July. Are you able to give us any sense of where you are in terms of the caliber of nominations so far put forward?
Well, we will certainly check the number of nominations received by the 6th of July. Then thereafter, the shortlisting process will start. The interviews will start. We then have to do the security vetting of all the nominated people. Then I still have to take it to Cabinet to seek Cabinet approval. And considering all of these processes that we have to follow, we think that by the end of September, everything should be done, and I can approach Cabinet for approval for a new board. But in the meantime, the caretaking board, they have got full powers to manage South African tourism entity. It's a very important entity because they take about more than 53% of the tourism department budget. And their main task is to market South Africa as a destination. So, yes, we are making progress there, and hopefully we can bring together a board that can reflect the demography of our country, include young people, women, people with disabilities. That is really what I would like to see as the outcome.
Let's talk about the interim board, because you and even the Portfolio Committee on Tourism have had quite a back and forth about this. Among the issues raised was the appointment of Tim Harris, who leads the interim structure. Was there absolutely no one else with the same set of skills, or even better, who did not come with as many political questions, who could have been fielded to that role?
Well, first, Mbekile, I exercise my powers in terms of the Tourism Act. If I've done anything illegal, then people must say so. I have decided to have a very small board, and it's not an interim board, it's a board, it's a caretaker board. And I was looking for skills in the economy, in the tourism sector, a person with finance. So we've got Mr. Zweli Tambo, who was also the DG of Gauteng, and business experience. And this Miss Koleka Zama, she is a chartered accountant. So, you know, people shouldn't individualize a character, because at the end of the day, we've got a team, and we've got a team of people, of managers that's also managing SAT. So we're moving on. I'm very happy with the performance of the board. They've made great strides. They're really assisting me also to clean up the entity. So I've got no qualms about their qualifications, and I'm very happy with them.
With that in mind, would you like them included in a new board? Do you think there'd be great benefit from their inclusion?
Well, they have the option to apply as individuals. The nomination process is open for anyone, and it's really up to them to decide whether they want to apply again.
A final question to you. There's a big issue going on globally at the moment, South Africa caught in between, because it has to do with the Russian president. Will he not come to this country? That makes global headlines. Are you concerned that it may impact South Africa's standing as a tourist destination?
Tebekele, I've just returned from the G20 summit held in India. And as the ministers of tourism from the G20 countries, we discussed it. Because war anywhere in the world does impact on the people traveling around the world. But we felt that the issue needs to be dealt with in the appropriate forum, which is the United Nations. It needs to be dealt with by the Peace and Security Cluster. And therefore, Russia was represented there, many European countries, the UK, the US. And we had just decided as a collective that this issue need to be discussed at a different fora.
All right. Patricia de Lille, Tourism Minister, good to speak to you. Much to be discussed on those various issues, but for now, we're out of time. Thank you so much for being on News at Prime tonight.